Yo, what up, guys? And I decided to do a little something. I've been listening to some death metal records lately, and I love death metal. It's a very good genre, has some very important bands, I think. So I decided I'm going to do a top 20s list of the best death metal bands of all time. There, let me just make some rules clear. We are with the subgenres. Like if it's black and death metal, melodic death metal, progressive death metal, technical death metal, death and roll, it's still in there. It's death metal plain and simple, but with added elements essentially. Those and some of these bands are very, very good. Some of these are in fact some of my favorite bands. So, before we get on to the actual list, I think I should do some honorable mentions to the bands that didn't make it. These are still fantastic bands and released some fantastic material, but just didn't quite make it. Oh well. Either way, these are all great bands and I wish them the best of luck in their future. First up, we have Entombed. Now, this should be an instant click in your head if you're a death metal fan. Entombed, of course, was responsible for the growth of the Scandinavian death metal scene after it stagnated here in America. And Entombed not only pioneered the Scandinavian death metal scene, but also pioneered death and roll, a form of hard rock, slightly more groove-orientated riffs overlaid with death metal vocals. Prime example, Wolverine Blues. Either way, fantastic band. The reason they aren't on the list is because some of their material from the 21st century isn't as consistent. But still, I wish them the best of luck in their future and a fantastic band. Next up, we have Behemoth. Now, this is a fan favorite. Behemoth is a fantastic black and death metal band from Poland. Now, if you don't know who Behemoth are, you've been living under a rock. Possibly don't have the internet. Behemoth are, as I said, black and death metal band, but they're a little more than that. Ever since they've turned to the more of this death metal roots from their original black metalness, they've been writing and releasing consistent, very successful and enjoyable albums such as Demigod and Sanctus Audica Tortus. Oh, I'm probably saying that all completely wrong, but whatever. Either way, those are fantastic albums. Even their old black metal stuff is great. Overall, this is a very strong band. The only reason it didn't get on their list is because I don't know why. But either way, great band. Wishing the best of luck in the future. Next up, we have probably one that's going to give me a hell of a lot of dislikes. Opeth. Now, you all know Opeth. Fantastic band, but didn't make the list. Now, Opeth has had some fantastic records, especially in the beginning that are the most death metalish. Orchid, Morning Rise, My Arms Your Hearse. Still Alive, for fuck's sakes. They're all great records. They broke boundaries because the use of brutality, metal, oh, for God's sakes, aka My Beauty and the Beast theory, are fantastic. The poetic lyrics, the great song structures, and truly memorable riffs and harmonies definitely make this band worth mentioning. But you don't see a lot of modern day bands taking a huge amount away from Opeth because Opeth have their own style and you can't really copy that or take a huge great influence from it. But they're a fantastic band nonetheless, and I wish them the best of luck in their future. Next up, we have a highly underrated band, I think, Nocturnus. Nocturnus, very few you know, but they're another fantastic band. They kind of broke boundaries with the genre because Nocturnus was probably the first band that used keyboards in their death metal. Now, don't get me wrong, this wasn't what like happy ballad bullshit. This was still brutal death metal, but there was so much more. The keyboards had a really nice element, even if it was just in the beginning of the Key album, which is fantastic by the way. But they also were the first death metal band to use science fiction themes. Some of you might say Fear Factory, but they came a little bit before Fear Factory. So with The Key, which was about, I think, a robot that goes back in time and destroys Christ. Either way, pretty cool. And great band. They released 2 classic albums that were very nice. And, alright. And next up we have a band who have just recently gotten into La Lux Altica, if I'm saying that right. This is a fantastic band. Now, you might recognize the singer from Lux Altica. The newly released Captate album, The Carnival Is Forever, features him on vocals, and you'll notice his distinct vocal style from Decapitate's last singer. He definitely. So what's different about Lux Altica? Well, if you look at their last album they did, Mother and the Enemy, you'll notice that this isn't quite your usual death metal band. And it's not that as progressive like say Opeth or Folkish, but that this band incorporates things such as electronica, trip hop, and progressive rock. Now don't get me wrong, this is another very brutal band and another very brutal album, but it adds a really refreshing spice, especially on oh my god, what was it called? Yet Another Armageddon, which is a fantastic track in my mind, and still probably one of my favorites from Mother and the Enemy. It just adds this album and band in general just adds a nice flavor, a nice taste, leaves a nice taste on my mouth. Really great album and really great song structure. So that does it for shout outs or whatever. So it's time to start the list. That'll be in my next video. I'm sure you guys will agree with me some places, in other places probably trolling me for, but whatever. So next video will be up shortly. Keep it metal.